So how to know that I actually delivered all the lessons very well to my students? If you are wondering on how to measure your students' academic abilities, skills, and or fluency in that given subject, assessment tools are right for your problem. Assessment tools? Yes. To further understand about these assessment tools, I will show to you a video with these amazing teachers who elaborately explain these assessment tools, which really help you in knowing the progress of your students toward an academic proficiency. Let's see.
Good day, my fellow future educators. Did you know the examinations are a very common assessment tool used in universities during entrance examinations? And this assessment tool has two types, and these are the objective test and the subjective test. So let's get to know first what are these two assessment tools all about. Objective test. So according to Versma and Juris 1990, that these are items that can be objectively scored items on which a person can select an answer or respond from the list of options. And the best example for this is the multiple choice test. And it is also defined as one for which the scoring rules are so specific that they do not allow scorers to make subjective inferences or judgments. And this is also based in criteria that can be measured as right or wrong. And again, this will allow test takers to choose an answer, correct answer, from an array of choices. Subjective test. Subjective test of questions in which the students will answer or respond in one or more sentences to a specific question, and that assesses students' ability to produce, to integrate and express ideas, and this will also allow students to be more creative and original. This is more open-ended that requires the test takers to form an original answer based on their own understanding of the topic. And lastly, it is also to give an overall evaluation of the student's mastery of language.
What is matching type? So matching type is consist of two parallel columns. The column A, which where the premises belong, and the column B, where the responses were located. It would measure the student's ability to connect words, complete sentences, or pair words with their definition. Teachers everywhere agree that learners should select the correct response in the second column to its corresponding premises in the first column. What is the significance of matching type? So matching type provides a change of pace, particularly for self-check and review activities. Many instructional designers employ them in quizzes and tests too. They are effective when you need to measure the learner's ability to identify the relationship or association between similar items. What is multiple choice? So multiple choice consists of a stem which describes the problem and three or more alternatives which give the suggested solutions. So it is a form of an objective assessment in which respondents are asked to select only one correct answers from the choices offered as a list. What is the significance of multiple choice? So multiple choice is used to measure students' ability with regard to a specific content area. A multiple choice item has a stem as a question describes data or presents a situation. So the responses include a key correct response and 3 or 4 distractors or foils.
Alternative response is you have to choose between two. If the statement is true, you have to write the true. And if it is false, then you have to write the false. In making this assessment, you have to give emphasis to the direction so students will not be confused. This kind of assessment measures the ability of the students to identify the correctness of the statement. When it comes to essays, students will explain. This is self-expression of the students about the lesson. There are two responses, restricted and extended. Restricted limits you only to the scope of the topic, while extended depends on the levels of understanding. This kind of assessment tests the knowledge and understanding of the students about that lesson.
So let's now have here the simple recall. So simple recall tests sometimes require the student to supply an answer to a direct question and sometimes require them to complete a statement where the word or phrase has been omitted. So these are some types of simple recall. The fill in the blanks, the enumeration and identification. Fill in the blanks. This recall power of learners and not their ability to recognize and synthesize. The significance of this is the basic aim of this format is to encourage learners to apply the knowledge they have learned. Enumeration. It is defined as to mention things one by one or giving two or more responses to a question item. The significance of this is it measures the ability of the learner's thinking skills. Identification. It defined, described, explained, or indicated by a picture, diagram, or a concrete object, and the term referred to it is supplied by the student. The significance of this is it helps the students' critical thinking skills to develop through analyzing each question item.
Analogy test. It is a reasoning test requiring a person examined to supply a final term in a proportion. For example, quote, "Life is a box of chocolates," end quote. An analogy is saying something like, "You never know what you're gonna get," or "Life is sweet," or "It's full of surprises." The importance of analogy test is that analogy requires students to develop learning strategies that help them understand the relationship between words and how they fit together. It teaches creative and critical thinking skills and presents a challenge that advanced learners enjoy. Rearrangement test. A rearrangement test is used to measure students' general knowledge of the order in any series of persons, objects, events, operations, or concepts. This is usually used in English class. An example for this is number 1, the rearrangement of I, pet, my, love. So the correct answer for this is I love my pet.